Alex Mason had always craved adventure. As a freelance journalist, his life revolved around chasing stories of the unknown, urban legends, haunted places, and unsolved mysteries. So, when he received an anonymous email late one evening, it was impossible to ignore. The message was short and chilling. There's a village called Black Hollow, deep in the Mistwood Forest. Decades ago, everyone there vanished overnight. No one knows why. Those who search for it don't return. If you're brave enough, follow the map. Attached was an old, hand-drawn map, with the village ominously marked by an X. Alex's heart raced as he stared at the screen. This was exactly the kind of story he lived for. A forgotten legend waiting to be uncovered. The next morning, he packed his gear. Camera, flashlight, notebook, and enough supplies for a long trek. As he drove toward Mistwood Forest, the excitement built within him, but so did a strange unease. The road stretched endlessly, and the trees grew taller, their bare branches clawing at the sky. The paved road eventually turned into a dirt trail, marked by a battered wooden sign that read, "Road ends in 10 miles. Proceed at your own risk." Alex smirked. This was exactly what he'd hoped for. A story that came with its own warning. The deeper he drove into the forest, the more the atmosphere changed. The trees grew denser, their shadows swallowing the sunlight. The air became colder, carrying a faint metallic smell that clung to his senses. His car jolted over potholes and muddy patches, and he had to stop twice to clear fallen branches blocking the way. At one point, as he moved a particularly heavy branch, a soft sound reached his ears. It was faint, almost like a whisper. He froze, scanning the trees, but saw nothing. Shaking off the unease, he continued driving. Just as he crossed an old wooden bridge over a dried-up creek, his GPS lost signal. He glanced at the map, which showed Black Hollow just a few miles ahead. But then, without warning, his car sputtered and died. The engine wouldn't turn over, and the dashboard lights flickered before going dark. "Perfect," Alex muttered, grabbing his backpack. With no other choice, he set off on foot. The trail narrowed as he walked, the forest closing in around him. The silence was unnerving. No birds, no insects, just the crunch of his boots on the dirt path. His excitement was now tinged with anxiety, but he pressed on. After nearly an hour, the trees thinned, revealing a clearing ahead. And there it was, Black Hollow. The village looked like something out of a nightmare. The wooden houses were rotting and crumbling, their windows shattered and doors ajar. Moss clung to the walls, and the air smelled of decay. In the center of the village stood an ancient well, its stone rim cracked but still intact. Alex's chest tightened as he stepped into the clearing. It was eerily still, as though the place were frozen in time. He pulled out his camera and began taking photos, noting the unsettling details. A child's shoe lying in the dirt, a broken clock face stuck at 3:13, a rusted bicycle leaning against a fence. But the well drew his attention most of all. It seemed to radiate a strange energy, pulling him closer. He approached cautiously, his footsteps echoing unnaturally in the silence. The rope and bucket attached to the well were intact, though weathered by time. A fragment of the legend surfaced in his mind. Locals believed the well was cursed, the source of the village's mysterious disappearance. Some claimed it devoured the villagers. Others spoke of a darkness that emerged from it, taking anyone who ventured too close. Despite the growing dread in his chest, Alex couldn't resist. He lowered the bucket into the well, listening as it scraped against the stone walls before hitting water. When he pulled it up, he found something unexpected, a small sealed jar. His hands trembled as he unscrewed the lid and unfolded the paper inside. The writing was faint but legible. "If you're reading this, you've found the well. Leave now. Do not stay after dark. Do not look back." Alex's stomach churned. The sun was already dipping below the trees, casting long shadows across the village. He decided it was time to leave, but as he turned to retrace his steps, he realized the trail was gone. The forest seemed to have shifted, closing in around the clearing. Panic set in. He circled the village, searching for any sign of the path, but it was as if the trees had swallowed it. Then he heard it, a faint, rhythmic tapping. He turned toward the sound and saw a figure standing in the doorway of one of the houses. It was barely visible in the fading light, but it was there, watching him. "Hello!" Alex called, his voice shaky. The figure didn't move. More figures appeared, drifting out of the shadows. They didn't walk. They floated, their forms hazy and indistinct. Alex backed toward the well, clutching his flashlight. He shone the beam at the nearest figure, but the light passed through it like smoke. The whispers began again, louder this time, overlapping and echoing inside his head. "You shouldn't have come. You shouldn't have looked." The ground beneath him trembled, and he stumbled, gripping the edge of the well for support. Peering into its depths, he saw something shifting in the water, a shape that grew larger with every second. It wasn't his reflection. A pale, featureless face stared back at him, its hollow eyes opening wide. Before Alex could react, an icy hand shot out of the well, its long fingers curling around his wrist. "No!" he screamed, struggling to pull away, but the grip was impossibly strong. The figures surrounding him laughed, their guttural voices merging into a haunting cacophony. The hand yanked hard, dragging Alex forward. His fingers slipped on the wet stones, and he fell into the well. As he plunged into the freezing water, he saw the creature fully emerge, a towering, demonic entity with jagged teeth and empty eyes. Its grin widened as it wrapped its arms around him, pulling him deeper into the darkness. The last thing Alex heard was its voice, low and rasping, echoing in his mind. "You're mine now." Days later, hikers found Alex's abandoned car at the edge of Mistwood Forest. His camera, flashlight, and notebook were missing, and there was no trace of him. But those who ventured near the village swore they heard whispers rising from the well at night, faint and chilling. "Stay away, or it will take you too."